think some of the challenges that we're seeing, I think everybody had at our table, is fee pressure out in the market right now. Comes from prospects. We're seeing that several firms are seeing from existing clients. Client calls them up, even long-standing clients. Someone here said they had a 25-year client call up and wanted to move their work somewhere else for $5,000, or other people the same thing. And I think we all know there is some real fee pressure out there, and sometimes they say it's a fee, but it's really another issue. It's a client service issue. We also talked about on the fee side, and our experience has been when we've gotten in some of these proposals that are very fee sensitive, we found out a lot of times, even when we get them, they still come back and want us to knock it down even further. And a couple of those that we did, frankly, they've kind of been kind of been disasters for us, and we kind of wish we hadn't gone. Because when the fee gets so low, it takes away your best people from all of these other clients that pay you full.
I don't know, construction contractors seem to have a kind of their good old boys club. I, being a woman, can say that. But they do like to stick with what they know. And a lot of times we'll have bonding companies or bankers come into our clients and tell them that their statements or their tax returns may not be up to par, but they're still not willing to change. They like the account they're with, they've been with them for 20 years and want to continue to have them provide services even though they may not be exactly what they need or may even be hurting them in some way. So that is a big problem. Firm perceptions was another problem. Maybe the industry's perception of either the firm size, either too big, too small, maybe their fees are too high, or they perceive the fees are too high when maybe in reality that's not the case. Developing partnerships with the ideal partners, we're meaning kind of thinking about referral sources, making sure you're aligning yourself with the right bonding company, the right bankers, things like that, the people that will be able to bring those clients that you want to you or help you get them. Managing perceived and marketing conflicts. We talked a little bit about having multiple bankers as referral sources, multiple attorneys as bankers, or as referral sources, and how do you manage making sure everybody's kind of getting, we called it, I think, sharing the love. Making sure you're referring to those people you want to and hoping you're getting something back in return. And then staff development in the specialized industry, which you guys have mentioned as well. You want to make sure that you've got your right staff members trained correctly so that when they're on the field or when they're dealing with the clients, they're getting the best service possible.
Building personal relationships, and how do we educate the younger people in the firm to how to start thinking that way and building that up. Niche focus and development, and kind of looking to, one of the problems our firm has or faces is that we're kind of generalists. So we have construction, we have real estate, we have nonprofit, we're across the board. And how do you compete with a firm that focuses strictly on construction? It makes it a little more of a challenge. And then having a consistent message and messenger for the firm to kind of spread the consistent word. And then seasonality is always an issue. Sometimes it's a lot of your work's done the first quarter of the year, and then how do you keep people busy the other part of the year? And that's why you have the nonprofit or the 630 year-end work.
Let's talk about as far as what are you doing about educating clients. I kind of put educating clients and targeting. We kind of talked about, I think, a lot of the ideas we're going to talk later in this session is really the things that have been successful for our firm, 179D and R&D in particular. Those have been hot topics, but I kind of think, well, they're great. Everybody kind of knows about them now. The traction isn't as good as it used to be, but I find that I start almost every meeting I have with an existing client or a prospect, even if I'm not even sure they're going to qualify for these. I have my target list, and I'm always making sure that if nothing else, even if they don't qualify for it or don't use it, I never want one of my clients to come back and say, "Hey, how come you never mentioned R&D to me?" And I have a lot of contractors that do R&D. I have a few that we have talked to them over and over about, and they've just decided they don't want to do it. For whatever reason, they're not going to want to do it. But I always know that I'm never going to have my competitor call them up and talk to them about R&D and then go, "Richard didn't tell me about it." So we have a kind of a great list of items we talked about. Cost segregation is kind of coming back now that rates are up. We don't do cost segregation in-house. We use an outside firm to help us with that. We talked about, I mentioned a website that's out there that you guys might look at. It's called desireusa.org, Desire. And on there, it's a great website. They have a lot of the federal and state various energy incentives and credits and what utility companies are offering. is through NC State University. They back up the database. The only thing I would tell you, I think it's a great database, but I will tell you because they're maintaining it. You know, if your local utility comes out with some kind of new incentive, they may not get it on their database right away. So you still have to follow up. And that's actually something I'm trying to work with. I'm trying to get in touch with some people at the local utility and have them maybe explain some more of these various things that they have out there, incentives for contractors, or people developing new property, doing retrofits. I'm trying to get some people I can go meet personally, figure that out, because we actually have one of our largest HVAC contractors in our area. They're not a client of ours, but they're out targeting a lot of clients for retrofits, and they're competing with a couple of my clients. So my clients have come back and said, hey, where are they getting all this information? So now I'm having to go out and help them. Even though I'm not, an HVAC guy myself, but the fact that they're asking, because they see it as kind of like, how come you don't know this? It's a tax incentive, right? Well, I just don't know. But another big area for us is salt, because out where we're at, it's so much different than most of the states. We don't have an income tax, we have a B&O tax, and a sales tax, which is, and the way these things are structured, I mean, I'm telling you, it's so archaic that if you don't have an expert in it, we pick up a lot of good clients from that. We have long-standing prospects that you can't get in the door. And I'll tell you, the way we get in the door with them eventually is they get audited by the state, and they owe a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. And then they find out their CPA, they thought was the best thing since sliced bread, doesn't have anybody on their staff that knows, all how to fight the Department of Revenue in our state. Or they find out, hey, God, you could have restructured the way you do business, right? With your structuring, and you could have saved all this money. And then usually that's a good way for us to get in the door for somebody we haven't. 45L, it's kind of a big item, not really for us. I think we're kind of honest with you. Eric, we're so weak in that, right? We know about it, but we haven't really done anything with it. So we got it. That's one of these, I hate to say I'm waiting until 4:15 to get off my butt and do it, but really it's probably what I'm going to have to do is wait till then. But that's a big item for us. The other big one is there's, again, energy credits. I know we're going to have somebody speak about that because I think it's another area. I don't know if we're going to have a lot of work in there, but I know we just don't know enough about it. We got to get focused on that. And some of the firms, not us, we found out have a big business and low-income housing credit. And there's a lot of other things, certifications I need to do for those.
And then as far as educating the clients, we have quite a few people who do newsletters, sending them out, either writing their own articles or buying them from someone else, making sure their clients are getting those either on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly basis. Making sure you're participating in the industry associations, home builders associations, things like that. Having good outside referral sources. We have a couple people in our table that had a CRM where they were basically tracking how many times they were maybe contacting a client, making sure there were those relationships there. A big one was follow-up. A lot of us may meet with a potential client and the follow-up isn't always great. The follow-up can sometimes be a make or break in getting a new client. And then seminars for their clients, referral sources, etc., making sure you're maybe giving them some knowledge that they may not be getting somewhere else. Sometimes just getting them together and presenting something to them, either whether they're your clients or potential clients, can help.
Social events and education, so like hosting seminars or CPE to educate the clients and your internal staff. I know at our firm, we have like the different niches or groups, and in our construction one, we hosted our 4th annual skeet shooting event for the construction industry, and it gets great feedback as people in the construction industry. It's like kind of a good old boy network, and we put on that event, and it's a great way to bring, and we co-hosted it with an insurance company, so it's a good way to bring people from the construction group together, have a good time, and meet and network. And then CP, internal education. Marketing plan, developing a marketing plan and determining best practices. And then active in associations, so being involved in various associations, CFMA, PrimeGlobal, and then seeking client feedback. So at the end of the engagement, following up with that client and asking them for referral sources is kind of a challenge and can be hard for some people.